Hey, I'm glad to bring the webinar to you and explain to you guys a new division of TYGTAL exposure. I want to introduce our nutritionist, Daron Bates, for our, and for you guys to understand how important it is to eat right, take care of your body. And this is a new service that he's going to go over that belongs to TYGTAL and our vision. Daron, it's your show, man. I'm looking to learn a lot myself. I got my notepad here myself. I'm writing down because I was an athlete. I still think I'm one, so I want to make sure I'm eating right. So I'm gonna enjoy the webinar.
All right, and you still are an athlete. We're all athletes in different stages of our game, right? Um,
Right, right.
so we're gonna be going over eating like an athlete. Notice how I circled that, and I have some arrows pointing toward it, just to emphasize that when you're an athlete, there's a different standard of what you want to do. There's a different way that you want to treat your body than a regular person would actually treat their body. So we're going to be going over some of these things, and maybe you'll find some things that you've been missing out on in your nutrition program or your strength training program. And hopefully we can help you to get to that next level that you're trying to get to as an athlete. Okay, so just to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Dyron Bates. I've been a personal trainer for about 19 years. Okay, so I've been training individuals of all backgrounds, athletic abilities for a very long time. I've been coaching people in nutrition for about 15 years. And that started with people with bodybuilding, then that's branched out to all other walks of life. Also, U.S. Army vet. In the Army, I was in the 10th Mountain Division, did airborne and air assault. After I got out of the Army, I earned a full scholarship to the University of West Georgia, where I played defensive tackle, nose tackle, and was eventually moved out to the end position. Um, Below, I have a couple of the services that I offer, but we're going to be going more into that a little bit later on down the road. Okay, so one of the things that we're going to be really going over is why does nutrition matter in the off season? The first thing I wanted to do is scrap the word off season. Okay, this is improvement season. This is the time when you can actually make improvements. It's hard to make strength improvements. It's hard to make size improvements, athletic improvements during the season when you're constantly beating down your body, breaking up your body. So this is one of those opportunities that you have to really maximize your results with what you're trying to do. Okay, so you really want to take care of that time and really make sure that you're making the most of it. Now the question is, why is it important? Okay, and the thing is, it's important because of goals. Okay, whether your goal is to maximize hypertrophy or building as much muscle as possible in the off season, or maximizing strength gains, which is getting as strong as possible, which those are two actually different things, or losing excess body fat or anything else. All of that is going to be tied to your nutrition. Okay, so this is what we want to focus on so that we can have all the tools available to make sure that we are maximizing our gains in any of these things that we have goals with. Okay, um, so now we're going to be talking about building, a little bit about macronutrients and building your improvement season nutrition plate. Like, what should your nutrition look like, and also going a little bit over some of the foundations of what makes a good nutrition program. That is going to be your macronutrients. So when we're talking about macronutrients, we're talking about proteins, we're talking about carbohydrates, and we're talking about fats. Now, another thing that we'll also get into at some point is micronutrients. Okay, that's one of the things that we want to also emphasize, that it's just not about the proteins, the carbs, and the fats, but it's also about the nutrition, how nutritious are the proteins and the carbs and the fats that we're getting in. A lot of the times I like to ask people, okay, if you took 1,500 or let's say 2,500 calories of McDonald's compared to 2,500 calories of lean protein, lean carbohydrate, or good complex carbohydrates, and some good healthy fats, what do you think is going to give you the best result, even though it's the same amount of calories? And of course, it's going to be the food that has the best amount of micronutrients. Okay, so let's go into protein first. Um, why protein? Okay, why do we need protein? Why is that important? Okay. Now, some of the reasons why we need protein is for, of course, muscle growth and repair. Protein provides amino acids that build and repair muscle tissue after exercise. So, for people who want to gain size or people who want to lose body fat and they want to maintain their size, it's going to be one of the most important things that you can get in. Also, it enhances recovery. So, it speeds up your recovery. It's going to reduce muscle soreness and it's going to minimize the risk of injury. Okay. Also, it's going to support strength gains. So, that's going to be essential for improving strength gains and muscle power through helping you to increase the amount of muscle mass you have. Now, another thing that protein does or can do that we do not want it to do is be an energy source during exercise. But your body is so versatile that it can use protein for energy. So protein can be provided energy during prolonged exercise, especially when carbohydrate stores are low. Okay? So this is what I want to point out that we don't want to do. Okay? During this time, we don't want to have low carbohydrates. We definitely want to have the carbohydrates in there so that our body does not use protein for energy while we're working out. We want to use protein for recovery, for after we're done working out. So we need something else for energy, which we'll go over those in just a little bit. Also, immune function. This is going to help to boost your immune system, reducing downtime due to illness. Hormone production. It's going to support your hormone levels. Production of hormones critical for athletic performance, like growth hormone and insulin. Okay, so we definitely want to make sure that we're getting in, so we're getting those growth hormone pulses, and our insulin levels are where they need to be in order to shuttle those nutrients to where they need to be. It also will prevent muscle loss. Okay, so that's one of the things in an athlete that we definitely don't want to do is lose muscle. We work so hard for it. A lot of the times I tell people that in a given month you might be able to gain, 1.5 pounds. That's if you're killing it, 1.5 pounds of muscle a month. And most people don't do that. But you can lose anywhere from 4 to 8 pounds of body fat. Okay? So muscle, you have to work very hard to put it on. So we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing so we don't lose it. Okay? So one of the other things, this is a vanity thing. It improves body composition. Okay? So it's going to definitely just help you look better. It's going to help to reduce body fat and help with lean mass gains. And the last one's going to be satiety and weight management. Okay, so we're going to get into some of the things that make you constantly feel hungry, but protein's going to help you to feel full so that you can actually make sure that you're not eating all the time. We want to make sure that we are not hungry all the time and just binging on everything we can get our hands on. Protein's going to help to fill that need and make you feel more satiated after you eat. Now, how much protein do you need? Research says about 0.7 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. That's about the range that we want to do, and everybody, and again, genetically, might have different ranges. You might be able to go a little bit lower and get, the same gains that somebody who's going higher on their protein intake gets. But that's about the range that we want to stay in. The next, carbohydrates. Why are those important? Okay, everybody loves them, but why are they important for athletics? First and foremost, they're an immediate energy source. Whole grains, fruits, things like that. They're going to fuel your exercise by providing quick energy. It's going to help to enhance your performance and endurance. It's going to improve recovery. So that's going to speed muscle recovery post-exercise by replenishing glycogen stores quickly. For all of you guys who want to gain muscle, which I'm sure there's a lot of you, you want to make sure that you have the carbs in there so that you can replenish the glycogen stores. We want to make sure those are full as often as possible, constantly if we can have it. It also is going to help to support muscle preservation. Having a higher carb diet is going to be protein sparing, so it's going to reduce protein breakdown by ensuring energy comes from primarily from carbs, in which we had talked about before, that your body can use protein for energy, so we want to make sure that we're giving it something else that instead of the protein. Also stable blood sugar levels, digestive and gut health. Okay, so that's from the vegetable portion of it. So I know that some young athletes don't like to eat vegetables, but the vegetables contain antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds. So this is going to help to reduce muscle soreness and help to speed up recovery. So everything that we're having here is going to play a part in you getting the results that you want to get. Okay, hydration and electrolytes. Again, veggies, high water content veggies. They're going to help with hydration and electrolyte balance. Nutrient density and immunity. Okay, so vegetables supply essential vitamins and minerals crucial for maintaining a strong function and overall health during intense training. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're also getting those in. And if we're having trouble getting those in, you can speak with me, and I can tell you other options where you can still get those nutrients in other ways. Okay, so how many carbohydrates? Now, depending on the sport, we'll say 2 to 3 grams per pound a day of carbohydrates, and that can vary based on genetics. And with more intense sports, you might need even more. So that's a very big part of what you need also. But again, we're talking about the right type of carbs, and we'll go over what are the wrong type of carbs a little bit later. Okay, so next one is going to be fats. Why do we want to get fats in our diet? We're talking about healthy fats. It's a good sustained energy source. Healthy fats like avocado, olive oil, they provide a slow and steady energy supply, especially during low to moderate intensity exercises. Okay. Hormone regulation, that's a big one. Anti-inflammatory benefits. You're going to hear some of these same things that some of these things actually do. So when you're getting into healthy fats, you're getting into healthy carbs, you are going to have these anti-inflammatory benefit, okay, which is going to help with recovery and joint health. Enhanced nutrient absorption. Fat-soluble vitamins require dietary fat for optimal absorption, supporting overall health. Brain function, focus. Cellular health and recovery. Again, another one with being satiated and helping to manage your weight. Again, some of these do some of the same things. Just like protein helps with satiating you, so do healthy fats, so that you're not going to feel like. So when we have what I like to call hard gainers, other people call them hard gainers also, people who have trouble gaining weight. Healthy fats not only they're eating all the time. Healthy fats will not only help you to get in a little bit more calories, but it's also going to slow down that hunger a little bit, along with the protein. So we can talk about ways for people who have trouble gaining weight and they feel like their metabolism's just always on. There's ways that you can diet in order to help with that. Okay. Also, joint lubrication and mobility. Okay, so how many a day do we need? Anywhere from 0.3 to 0.6 grams per pound of body weight. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to go through is hydration essentials. And this says drink a glass of water. If only it were that easy, okay? As an athlete, you definitely have to be intentional about your hydration, okay? So it says at the top, stay hydrated. So when you're going into your training sessions, you don't want to try to get hydrated then. Your goal is to stay hydrated. So here's some of the things that you could do to do this. A couple simple things. Drink water regularly. Make sure that you're consistently drinking water throughout the day. Be intentional about it. Make sure that you haven't, get your electrolytes in balance. So you want to use electrolyte-rich drinks. They have sodium, potassium, and magnesium to replenish lost minerals through sweat. So if you live in some of anywhere in the summer, but definitely some of the hotter places, you want to make sure that you are definitely taking care with your hydration. Here's a couple tips. Hydrate before, during, and after exercise. Before, 16 to 20 ounces of water, 2 to 3 hours before exercise. During, 7 to 10 ounces every 15 to 20 minutes. And after, 16 to 20 ounces for every pound lost during exercise. Okay, so if you want to be really scientific, you would weigh yourself afterwards and see how much you've lost and replace those fluids. Also, monitoring the color of your urine. We want light yellow to almost clear. Okay, that's a good way to say, have I been drinking enough? And if not, well, then we need to hydrate. And the next one, avoid excessive caffeine. Okay, so I know for some of you guys it's going to be hard with the energy drinks and things like that, but we definitely want to limit those in order to stay hydrated, or make sure that you are definitely bumping up your hydration if you are using some type of pre-workout that has a good amount of caffeine in it. Another tip, carry a water bottle. Have your water readily accessible. You don't want to forget to drink because you don't have water to access to drink. You know, myself, I still to this day carry around a gallon Yeti with me so I can make sure that I'm drinking all of my water throughout the day. If it's and then for the people in the very humid places, make sure you increase your fluid intake so that you know you can account for that humidity. Um, the next one, okay, so we're just gonna do a simple meal breakdown. Some important considerations when you're trying to set up your meals, okay, how you're trying to set up your day of eating. Um, what I can do is really help you kind of make that your own, because these are just simple guidelines. But typically, you want to do about 4 to 6 meals per day because you want to spread your protein intake out evenly, which will maximize protein synthesis. It's also going to give you consistent energy, and it's also going to help you to not feel hungry all the time. This is one of the things I constantly talk about, because you don't want to get to that point where you're hungry and you're just grabbing everything that you have, okay, or that you can get your hands on. Meal timing, breakfast, you want probably like a high protein, balanced with carbs and a little bit of fats for energy, okay. Pre-workout meal, you want those to be carbohydrate rich for energy and a moderate amount of protein. Okay, the most important thing for the pre-workout is going to be the carbohydrates. Okay, and the post-workout meal is going to be high protein and a fast digesting carbohydrate, so that you can again replenish those glycogen stores as quickly as possible. Okay, dinner is going to be protein, healthy fats, moderate carbs, and the optional snacks will be protein-rich snacks, Greek yogurt and other protein snacks, which we can kind of go over that on a personal basis if you reach out to me and have questions. With your protein, you want to aim for about 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal, depending on your body size and your goals. If you're not as heavy, you can even go probably a little bit lower, down to 20 grams of protein per meal if your requirements aren't that high. Carbohydrates, most meals you want complex carbs. Those are going to be the slower digesting carbs, but post-workout, that's when you want to have the faster digesting carbs again to refill those glycogen stores as quickly as possible. Also, healthy fats for hormonal support, we want to put those in non-workout meals, okay, to support hormone production. We don't want those pre-workout. We don't want them post-workout. Those will slow down the digestion of the carbs and the protein. We want to get those in as quickly as possible, pre and post-workout. So the fats, that's where you're going to make sure that you avoid those around your workout times. Okay, so some of these tips, like it says down at the bottom, is going to help to make sure that you optimize or maximize protein synthesis multiple times a day. It's going to support high caloric intake needed for muscle growth without excessive bloating, okay? And it's also going to provide steady energy for training and recovery. And that's going to be key, because you definitely want to make sure that every time you go into one of your trainings, that you have as much energy as you possibly can. Okay, so the next one we're going to be going into is processed food and sugar traps. So, one of the questions that some people have is, what are processed foods? Now, any foods that have been altered through their natural state through methods such as canning, freezing, drying, baking, frying, or adding preservatives, okay, flavor, colors, and other ingredients. So, as you can see here, there's different levels of processed food, okay? So, we want typically minimally processed to non-processed foods, or you can go moderately processed and every once in a while heavily processed. But for the most part, for an athlete, we want to stick down to minimally processed to not processed at all. Okay. So minimally processed is washed, cut, or packaged or pre-washed lettuce, cut fruit, things like that. Moderately processed, they have ingredients added for flavor or preservation, canned beans, roasted nuts, frozen vegetables. Heavily processed or ultra processed contain artificial additives, preservatives, high sugar, unhealthy fats, or artificial colors. The things that we typically like to snack on is soda, chips, candy, noodles, instant noodles, those types of things. So these are some of the things we definitely want to avoid regularly. But again, I understand we're teenagers. Every once in a while we want to have them. But for the most part, to make sure that we are operating at the highest capacity, we want to stay between minimally, again, and non-processed. Now, again, more about processed foods. One of the things that are negative about processed foods, and that's why we tell you to keep them at a minimum, is that processed foods can result in 10 to 20% more calories absorbed compared to whole foods. Now, for people who want to gain weight, that means that maybe sometimes you should have some processed foods, especially if you have trouble gaining weight. It's because you do absorb more calories. But overall, those are the things that are probably going to make you a little bit fatter. Okay, so we definitely want to limit those as much as we can. So this gives you just an idea of the difference in calories absorbed between a processed food compared to a whole food. All right, so we can see that the fibers typically stripped out of the processed food, and they're broken down, and that makes them easier and faster to digest. So this leads to more calorie absorption. Now, processed foods also have a lot of added sugars and fats, and they're unhealthy fats, and they absorb rapidly also. And they also have refined oils and grains that digest faster. Okay, so again, I just want to continue to harp on the fact that these aren't what we want all the time, especially if we're trying to maximize what we're doing. Okay, so let's look at, on the next page, we talk about some of the drawbacks for athletes. Okay, so reduced satiety. Okay, so you're not going to feel full when you eat processed foods. They're going to make you hungry. They're going to make you want to eat again and again and again. And you probably noticed that when you eat candy, you don't get as hungry as when you eat like an apple or something along those lines. Another thing is it's going to be nutrient deficient. Okay, so you're not going to have as many nutrients in processed foods as you are going to have in whole foods, which means that you're not going to have the things necessary for growth or maintenance of muscle as readily available. It's not just about the macronutrients. Again, the micronutrients play a very big role in what you're trying to accomplish. So some people think they can just go out and eat burgers and fries and things like that and load calories in. But sometimes, your body just spits that stuff out, or it just turns it into fat because it doesn't have the nutrients that you need in order to get the growth that you're looking for. Also, another one, it increases inflammation. Okay, that's not what you want as an athlete. Okay, so that can slow down recovery. That can impact your joint health and things like that. Also, unstable energy levels. You're bound to spike and then crash when you have processed foods. And again, we talked about weight gain, all right? Because of the higher caloric absorption rate, you're likely to gain more weight, and not the good kind with processed foods. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is sugar traps. Okay, so this is one of the things that, these are some of the things that we look at as healthy or good option, but some of these can be just straight up sugar traps. Like some of the ones that, one at the top is flavored yogurts. Those can contain anywhere from 15 sometimes to 30 grams of added sugar per serving, which is that's almost like a Coca-Cola's worth of serving when you're at the higher end. Smoothies and acai bowls. Okay, those have a lot of high sugar fruits, honey, and different higher sugar things. Granola and cereal bars. Again, they're marked as energy bars, but again, they have a lot of added sugar. Sports drinks, you also got to watch those, because some of those can have as much sugar as again, like a Coca-Cola. Flavored oatmeal packets. Some of those can be good, but some of those are sweetened with a lot of sugar. So you definitely have to read the labels. Flavored or sweetened nut butters. Okay, they taste delicious, but the chocolate and the white chocolate and the honey versions, they're just adding sugar and they're taking away from the benefit of regular nut butters. Dried fruit. Okay. Those are often coated with sugar, and you're eating more fruit when it's dried than you could possibly probably eat if it was a regular piece of fruit and all of the water and the hydration was still in it. Okay, so we want to be careful with that. Trail mixes and energy mixes. Now, listen to the name of it. It's a trail mix. Okay, these things were made for people who were hiking on trails who needed a lot of energy and needed very energy dense foods for a lot of work. Okay, if you're just working out and your lifestyle isn't hiking trails all day, you're not a trail mix isn't going to be the snack that you probably want to grab. Healthy breakfast cereals, added sugars, protein bars. Okay, this is one of my pet peeves because a lot of the times when you look at protein bars, the macronutrients that is smallest and that is lowest content in it is protein. Usually you're going to have more carbs or you're going to have more calories coming from fats. So you got to make sure that you're monitoring the bars that you're good and or that you're taking in. And if it tastes really, really, really good, you probably should not eat it for protein. You probably should eat it for a snack of some sort because it's probably not giving you exactly what you think that you're getting out of it. Okay, so make sure, again, check your labels and make sure that you're looking at the sugars and everything on there. Okay. These are some of the mistakes that we typically see, and some of these are nutrition based, and other ones are workout based. But here's some of the recovery mistakes that we see. Is skipping post workout nutrition. Okay, now, not consuming protein and carbs within 30 to 60 minutes after exercise. Okay, now there is a bigger window than that. The window actually goes out, they're saying maybe a few hours, okay? But the sooner that you start replenishing glycogen stores, the sooner your body begins recovering, okay? So you definitely want to make sure that you prep. You have your food ready and prepared so that after your workout, you can really get the carbs and the protein in immediately, and you can start that recovery right away. Now, I'm going to say, I was guilty of this when I was an athlete, and I didn't understand that. To me, this is probably the most important aspect of reaching your goals, and that's sleep. Okay? Getting less than 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep, it's going to impair muscle recovery, hormone balance, and I'm just going to say everything. Okay? If you're not getting enough sleep, it can mess up everything. Okay? So that is one of the things as an athlete that you can do, and you'll notice immediate results, is making sure that if you like to play the game, turn the games off at a certain time, or turn the TV off, whatever you like to do, and make sure that you're putting in the amount of sleep that you need for recovery, because you're not going to get the growth from lifting. That's not when it happens. It happens when you're recovering. It happens when you sleep. Okay. Another one is ignoring hydration. Okay, so making sure that you're hydrating properly. Okay, a hydrated muscle is going to perform better than a dehydrated muscle. Think about, like a hydrated spaghetti noodle compared to the dehydrated noodle that's just straight and stiff. One is flimsy and it can move around really well, and the other one will snap very easily. Okay, so make sure that you're staying hydrated. Lack of rest days. You have to make sure that you're giving your body enough time to rest and recover. There's been so many people that I've talked to that do 6-7 days of working out, and they're trying to get as big as they possibly can or put on as much size or as fast as they can. and your body, you're just not giving your body enough rest. So make sure that you're giving adequate rest days to your body. And there are cues. Your body will start giving you cues of you're not resting enough, okay? And you got to start listening to those cues. Neglecting active recovery, okay? Also, improper stretching. This is a big one, making sure that you're putting in the stretch work. Inconsistent protein intake. Putting the protein all in one meal instead of spreading it out evenly throughout the day to where you're getting those spikes throughout the day, those anabolic spikes throughout the day. So making sure that you are spreading that out. So in order to do that, sometimes you got to make sure that you get up earlier so that you can get more meals in throughout the day. Neglecting micronutrients. I've already hammered that, just looking at macros such as protein, carbs, and fats, and not looking at the quality of the food that you're getting in. That is really going to be one of the biggest things. That's going to not only help with recovery, but it's also going to help with growth. And also relying on painkillers, using anti-inflammatories, like ibuprofen and things like that to mask issues instead of fixing the problem. Also, skipping foam rolling or massage or stretching. I got to say, I was guilty of that when I was younger too. It takes 5 or 10 minutes, and your body's going to love you for it, and you're probably going to perform better if you do it. Okay, make sure that you're warming up and cooling down properly after your exercise. And also, give your body time after an injury. If you've had an injury, make sure that you're not rushing back. Make sure that you're good to go prior to getting back 100% on the horse. Okay. So here's the next one is really ways that you can stay consistent, and these are going to be prep and travel nutrition tips. So we'll be on the next. You can go down a couple more. There we go. Good. So we're going to be going over prep and travel nutrition tips. Things that'll make your life a little bit easier if you're traveling and you're on the road, or if you're out and you don't have what you need with you. Here's a couple things that'll help. Now, for preparation tips, just prepping your food. Batch cook your proteins. This is something that I always do. Cook a bunch of chicken, lean beef, turkey, whatever type of protein that you like, and then store it in airtight containers for quick access to protein with any meal. You can even portion your protein out. Have it in different containers. There's actually prep containers that you can buy. You can even portion it out in different prep containers. Me personally, I put it in a big container and then I weigh it prior to eating it. Pre-chop your vegetables. Okay. So what we want to do, we want to really just make things easier so we don't have an excuse not to eat, not to get our nutrition in. So pre-chop your vegetables, put those in containers, have them readily accessible. You can use them for your salad, stir fries, or just as a side dish. Portion your healthy snacks. Every week, put your snack like nuts and Greek yogurt or hard-boiled eggs, so that you have quick grab-and-go options. Sometimes we eat poorly because we don't have the options prepared. So sometimes it's literally just a lack of preparation. Here's another thing: one pan or sheet pan meals. Put everything on a sheet pan and cook several things on it at once. If you know that you're lazy with prepping, do that. There's so many different things and there's so many different options for how you can prep your meals, and I've always got a lot of different things that will work for individuals if you reach out and you ask me. Cook your grains in bulk. So prepare your quinoa, your brown rice, or your oatmeal to use throughout the week. So just make a big batch of it, and typically what I would do is I would do white rice or brown rice or quinoa. I'd have my half cup or my cup or whatever I was using. I'd have that ready, and I'd just scoop it out. The thing is, make it quick, make it simple, so it doesn't seem like a chore every time that you do it. Also, if you're eating, for performance as an athlete, that doesn't mean that your food has to taste nasty. Okay? So make sure that you season, marinate your food. Try to make it taste good. Because you should still enjoy your food as an athlete. Take a little time to make sure that you put that time aside to prep your food, sit it out, so that you can have a good meal every time that you eat. And you enjoy what you're eating. Another thing, use a slow cooker or Instapot. You can be the worst cook in the world and make a good meal in a slow cooker or Instapot. Okay, you can just take you can literally take a whole chicken and just sprinkle it with salt, pepper, and put vegetables in there and let it cook, and you'll probably enjoy what comes out. Okay, you can use containers again with portion controlling. So if you want to make sure that your things are, especially for the ones that need to lose weight, if you want to make sure that your meals are portioned out so that you're not, overeating, you can, have everything portioned out and prep, so that we don't overeat. So you're setting yourself up for success. And then again, keep your hydration prepared. Keep that ready and with you. Have your electrolyte package set up. Have your protein packet set up. Whey protein. You can put that in baggies. Things like that. It's all about preparation and setting yourself up for success with just a little bit of time on the front end. Okay, so when you're on the go, one of the things that I always say, especially for an athlete, somebody who really wants to, get that highest level of results, that not everybody has the mindset to get, is, research. If you're on the go, if you're going to be out of town, research what the nearby food options are. Research what type of, the supermarkets, where the supermarkets are. Try to make sure that you stay somewhere close to a supermarket, okay? Know what the restaurants are next to you, so that you can make sure that you can make the right decisions when you go there, Also, the different options at fast food chain. Every fast food chain actually has some healthier options, right? And you really got to do your research, because sometimes their healthy options really aren't that healthy. So make sure that you do your research and look at some of those so that okay, when I'm here, this is what's going to keep me on track. Again, look for places that offer grilled protein, fresh salads or bowls, pre-pack emergency snacks, okay, beef jerky, protein bars, the low sugar kind, mixed nuts, your protein, whey protein packets, or, tuna packets, things like that. And like here it says, master the convenience store strategy. How do you how do you find healthy things in a convenience store? I've had it where I was just so hungry. I wanted to eat anything, and I went to a convenience store, and I know the types of things that you can pick, that's not going to set you back, such as, nuts. Some of them have fresh fruit. Now, nuts and things like that will definitely help to make you feel satiated, so that'll hold you over until you can get somewhere. So another thing, it says store them in a store these things in a travel cooler. So what I want to hit on with that is get yourself a travel cooler. There's different ones. Yeti has one. I know I've seen some by Igloo, but make sure that you have a cooler every time that I go out, or me and my wife and my kids go out. We make sure that we have a cooler where we can bring our food, because we want to make sure that we can eat the way that we need to eat to maintain the lifestyle that we need to maintain. And this is what I want to encourage you guys to do. If you want to get to results, you want to maintain your results, you're going to have to do small things such as this in order to, make that process, that progress that you want to make. Okay. All right. So, lastly, I just want to tell you about the Elite Nutrition Program that we're offering. So with this program, it's a 4-week nutrition program, which is going to be tailored to you. Now, typically what I do, I don't do just a meal plan and throw people out there like that. Now, I do that when I'm dealing with bodybuilding competitors, because their goals are a little different. What we'll do is we'll sit down and we're going to look at what you're currently doing And how can we make small changes? It doesn't feel like we're reinventing the wheel to what you're currently doing to progress you to where you need to be at. Okay. The goal is definitely to make progress, but again, the goal is to keep you on track. And part of keeping you on track is going to be having you do some of the things that you or habits that you like to do, but we're definitely going to have to change some of the habits that you're doing if these habits are getting in the way of you making progress. Along with that, we do weekly check-ins. Depending on your goals, it's either 30 to 45 minutes. If it's weight loss, it's probably about 30 minutes. With the gaining muscle, it's going to be 45 minutes. There's just a couple more things when you're trying to build, and that can be a little bit more difficult for people. So we have a little bit more extra time where we can talk and go over things and make adjustments if necessary, or shift. Have you do little shifts in your workload. We go over supplement and hydration guidance. So we'll go over the supplements that you take in. Whether some of these supplements are if there's even any real science behind them, and we want to make sure that we're going to get you on the supplements that are going to give you the best results, give you the best energy, things like that. Game day, travel, post-workout fueling strategy, we'll get all of that. And this isn't just for athletes, this is also for parents. I like the parents to be involved with that, because ultimately, not only do I want the parents to be educated on this, but I also want you to be involved with what your athlete's doing. I want you to be another pillar of, accountability for them, not just myself, because, I'm not always going to have eyes on what they're doing. I was speaking with, one kid, and, his mom's there, and she's like giving eyes. I'm like, okay, what you got to say over there? So I want y'all definitely watching what your kid's doing, and also educated on what's going to be best for them, because a lot of times we just don't know. There's so much information out there, and a lot of it is geared to sell you something, and a lot of it's wrong. And I want to give you the best information that is going to be the most usable for your particular athlete. And that's all I have.
Listen, I'm sitting here. Listen, I think I'm gonna be cut up before it's over, because I'm taking notes myself. And for everybody that listening, this is the new division of nutrition for TYGTAL Exposure and our vision. We happy to have Daron on board with us. He already doing a great job with a couple of athletes now. And in a minute when y'all see what my body finna transfer to, don't get mad. But look, you always can go to www.TYGTALExpo.com. Go into services, you will see the Elite Nutrition Program. You can go right there and there, read up on it and everything, and purchase what you would like, and then you'll get a one-on-one consultation with Daron himself to do your customized deal. Daron, I appreciate this right here, because I done learned a lot myself, and I feel real good, because there's so many athletes always come to me, and like I said back in the old day, man, eat all the peanut butter sandwich you can, but that's not
Don't
the way.
forget the
So
jelly.
I know now, right, and I know now Jennifer, and we're gonna take a couple questions before we go. Jen, you got any questions in the chat box that you want to ask for Daron to answer real quick?
Yeah, we had a couple of questions submitted previously, so let me pull those up real quick.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so first question, what's the best way to gain weight while conditioning and weightlifting?
Well, the best way, it's definitely going to be making sure that we're getting in the right amount of nutrients. So when this question is asked to me, I tend to lean towards that we're really not tracking what we're doing. So if you're having trouble seeing the progress that you want to see, that's when we do have to track some things and kind of see, okay, where's our protein intake at? Where's our carb intake at? Where's our fat intake at? And how is our body responding to this? And then from there, we're going to have to make small tweaks in order to, to make sure that we're making the progress that we need to make. Because again, you're doing a lot. So that's going to be a lot of calories that you're probably going to need. But how much? that is going to be definitely dependent on the individual. Me personally, I never needed a lot of calories to gain size. I was always eating less calories than people would think, and my body would put on size. So it really is seeing, okay, typically bodies work within this sphere. Let's see what range your body works within. Okay, let's see how much carbs do we need. Sometimes we need to, your body's going to respond more to fat. Sometimes it's going to respond more to carbs. But we're going to just have to look at what you're doing, the type of work that you're doing, and make small adjustments and look at the response that your body gives us, because your body always will give feedback. And sometimes not seeing any response in the way that you want to go, that in itself is feedback. Okay, so we would just have to make small adjustments that obviously work for you and what you're doing with your schedule to see that progress that you're looking for.
I wanna ask you a question, Jen. I know you got another pertaining to that. So what we really got to get these student athletes to understand is not a one size fit all at all. Just because my buddy took protein shakes after every workout and he got cut, that don't mean that's me. So can you go a little bit, I don't want you to go too far, and detail that this is not, when you're talking about being healthy, getting in shape, losing weight, gaining weight, eating right, taking care of your body, it's not a one size fit all. It's not everybody go in the weight room and after we do that rep, everybody get a shake and we keep moving.
Right.
Can you elaborate a little more to these student athletes that what we're offering is a customized deal for them? So you could have two guys on the same team, you could have two brothers, and their plan will be totally different. Can you talk on that just a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the things that really I've seen a lot with in the fitness industry is people doing other people's plans. And what you can do, what I did when I was younger is I did plans, or let's say diets, that were structured in a certain way, as like a way to figure out how my body responds. But it's not to expect the same response as everybody else. If you think about it, some people eat ice cream, they're fine. Other people eat ice cream, it completely tears them up. So your body's going to have different genetic, properties of, how it responds to weight training, how well it digests and utilize the energy that you put in, how it responds to your protein intake, how much you have. So yeah, it isn't a one size fit all, and you shouldn't be trying to mimic what someone else did. What you should be doing is trying to mimic their results, but their results aren't going to be mimicking those results isn't going to be doing the exact same thing that they did. It's probably not going to work for you. Now, sometimes it might. You guys might be similar and you might see some similar results, but long term, you can't continue to mimic what someone's doing and expect to get the same results as them. Even if you have two twins, right? They're going to have different results off of the same diet. And you see it. You see twin, one is big, one doesn't have as much muscle. And that's about as close as you can get genetically. And still, we're all different. So that's one of the things that I want you guys to understand. Just because there's a lifting program that someone gained 20 pounds on, that doesn't mean you're going to gain 20 pounds in that lifting program. Or there's a nutrition plan where somebody was gaining 2 pounds every week, straight muscle. That doesn't mean you're going to get those same results, and you really shouldn't expect them. But what I'll do is look at where you're at, and we're going to figure out what your body needs in order to get those types of results that you're looking for.
Great answer. Jen, you got it.
All right, the next question. A lot of these questions are very kid specific, I'll say.
Okay.
This one is, okay, what should you eat before a game, if anything, which you kind of already covered. But if you want to go into that a little bit more, what should you eat before a game, if anything, and how long before a game to stop eating or snacking?
Okay. So that is a great question. I love it. It's a very simple question, but it's a really great question because I love to hit on those types of things. Now, I'm not going to tell you specifically foods, but I'm going to tell you from a perspective of you should definitely eat things that that your body, that agree with your body, okay? Definitely eating carbs for energy. Okay, so you want to have carbs that you know will not cause you stomach distress. All right, so that's not the time to be experimenting before a game. Now, how soon should you eat before a game? Me personally, I have gotten to the point where I've worked my body to where I can eat 30 to 45 minutes before I do athletic, activity. Other people might need an hour. Other people might need 2 hours. Okay, so the thing is, it's typically anywhere between 30 minutes to maybe a couple hours prior to a game that you want to stop eating. Now, are you going to be getting much benefit from that food? Not really. A lot of the benefits going to be coming from, the day before and what you did the day before. But pretty much what I'm trying to hammer down is know your body and try to stick within those parameters. So a good thing to practice is with your practices. Okay. So with your practices, see, okay, how close to my practices do I need to stop eating before I start to before I'm having some type of digestive issues, right? A rule of thumb is I would probably not go below an hour, but an hour and a half sounds about reasonable. But again, it's going to depend on the person and monitoring what your body responds positively to and what your body responds negatively to.
Again, hey, that was a great question, and I don't mean to go in between, but I want to say this because my angle is educating. Okay, so what you're saying is, if I was an athlete and I done went through and I know what's good for me and I'm doing my diet or my meal plan correctly, and let's say I play for a high school that they feed us before a game an hour and a half,
right.
But they feed us, because I have seen this, fried chicken, or they feed us something that ain't good for us, because a lot of people, budgets ain't high, so they feed you what you can. Are you telling me if they got fried chicken, I don't need to mess with it? If I know what my diet is, I might need to tell my mom, bring me my own pregame meal, because I know what agrees with me.
Right.
And again, it sounds like, there we go again, saying it's not a one-size-fit-all. Everything is not a one-size-fit-all. And I want to drive that home, because even in the weight room, I see
Absolutely.
kids and everybody doing the same weight program, but some people got tight hamstrings, some got tight quads. So it's not a one-size-fit-all. So I want to get that across. Not saying anything else, but yeah, you got to get it. Hey, I'm interested over here. I'm asking all these questions. I'm getting ready for mini camp.
That's right.
Nah, your questions are great. That was. Let me check before I say that. Yep, that was the last kind of general question. The rest of them were really, like, say, student specific of how much should he be eating and this and that. So I think that was the last question. Anything you guys want to add to the end?
I would definitely like to say that, if anyone wants to reach out and ask me a couple more questions personally prior to getting involved in the program, feel free to do that. I don't mind answering questions. That's part of what this is. I want you guys to be comfortable with me and working with me, and I don't mind sitting down to make sure that I'm the right fit for your kid. You know what I mean? Because again, nutrition is a very important part of this is the glue that holds everything together. And we definitely want to make sure that we get this part right. You want to make sure that you're getting the person right that's working with them. And I'm sure that I'm the right person to work with a lot of the athletes, but I'd love to sit down with you and plead my case. But again, if you have any questions, anything, feel free to reach out to me.
Okay. And again, I want to add one more thing, because I love this education part as well, because I know I'm a parent of an athlete, and I know we got a bunch of parents of athletes. But parents, just because he's talking about athletes, don't mean you can't join the program yourself if you need. Because when I'm finding out, Daron, being I'm going to keep saying an ex-athlete, but if I would have took care of my body nutritional-wise or eating-wise, now some of the things that I'm going through, illnesses or whatever, I may not be going through it. And this is what I need these young men and young women to understand. What you're doing now, when you're 15, 16, 17-year old, when you get 40 and 50, it's going to catch up with you. So if you going to eat all them, because, I'm sitting here laughing, but we ate just a minute sneakers and Kit Kat before the game.
Yep.
But now we paying for it with the diabetes and everything else. So I need to drive home. We brought this nutritionist program on board because this is something not just doing your playing days. You're going to wish you would have listened after your playing days, and that's when it's going to catch up with you. Your body while you're young, man, that thing, boy, you think you're invisible.
For real.
But as soon as it starts slowing down, it's a different story. So I appreciate the webinar. I hope people that sees it appreciate it. Reach out to you. Reach out to us. We can connect you directly to them type deal. Even if they want to go on the site and go to the athletic questionnaire and put on there they want you to reach out to them, then you can reach out to them that way too. But hey, I appreciate the webinar tonight. Jen, I think you did a great job, and we appreciate you guys.
Thank you.